All right, thanks, Kristen. We begin with some overnight breaking news. Search teams in Taos have recovered the body of former White House executive chef Walter Scheib. He went missing after hiking alone near the Taos Ski Valley more than a week ago. His body was found late last night near the base of Yerba Canyon Trail. He served under Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush. State police say Scheib's cell phone signal was tracked to a mountain in Taos last week. No word on how he died just yet. We turn now to this. A group of Albuquerque residents are on edge this morning after a pair of brazen thieves hit their neighborhood again. Take a look at the surveillance video. It was shot in the neighborhood near Paseo del Norte and Eubank. Watch that van that comes down the street closely. It circles the cul-de-sac a few times before two people finally jump out. They run up to an open garage, make off with two bicycles. The people who own that home were inside when this happened Thursday afternoon. They say that the garage door had only been left open for less than an hour.
So we knew that our neighbor 2 doors down, he has a security camera, and we went and looked through the footage, and sure enough, there's the video evidence.
So another neighbor says something similar happened to him just a few weeks ago. A moped thief remains locked up this morning, all thanks to a deputy's intuition. According to a criminal complaint, that deputy was patrolling Saturday when he saw Mario Ramos Enriquez walking a moped up a hill near Coors and Arenal. Ramos Enriquez claimed he was going to a gas station. The deputy noticed, though, A, there was a gas station at the bottom of the hill, and B, the moped's ignition was stripped completely out. The deputy determined it was a stolen moped. He arrested the man on the spot. Developing right now, Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputies are investigating a SWAT situation that ended with one person dead over the weekend. It happened late Saturday night when deputies were called to a possible home burglary. Deputies say there were about 4 suspects involved. 3 were arrested. 1 stayed inside. After several hours, deputies entered the home and found the 4th suspect dead of what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Charges are pending for the other 3 men in this case. New this morning, authorities in Washington say Al-Qaeda is no longer the #1 threat in the U.S. That title now goes to ISIS. Factors like its brutality, recruiting strength, and its use of social media have placed ISIS at the top of the department's annual terrorism report. The report goes on to say the highest number of terrorist attacks last year took place in Iraq and coincided with the expansion of ISIS. Speaking of terrorists, happening right now, authorities in Afghanistan are investigating an attack on the parliament there. You could hear the screams there as soon as that blast happened. The Taliban carried out the attack in Kabul, where heavy fighting is still going on at this time. Attackers detonated a huge car bomb outside the building before racing inside. That's what that blast was. Police right now are evacuating the premises while trying to fight off the attackers in the meantime. New facts this morning back here in the U.S., where authorities are continuing the hunt for 2 escaped killers. News 13 has learned that investigators have a DNA match confirming that the escaped prisoners were in the Saranac area of New York within the last 24 hours. Sources say the DNA match in the escapees was found in a cabin that had been broken into this weekend. The 2 have been on the run for more than 2 weeks after escaping from a correctional facility in New York. Okay, imagine this. A 60-foot tamale. Sounds pretty unbelievable, right? Now double it. That's how big one New Mexico man wants to make his New Mexican dish. But it's all for a good cause. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is in the Newsplex with the details on this. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, this Belen native wants to set a new Guinness World Record. His reasons are twofold. He's doing it at the annual Viva Festival in Belen, hoping to raise funds for a cause and draw attention to a struggling town.
I'm from there, and it hurts. It hurts to see that a community that I grew up in, from my grandparents, from my great-grandparents, to my parents, to me, to my kids, to see it kind of dwindle sucks.
Wayne Trujillo is the event coordinator for the 2nd annual Viva Festival, a celebration of New Mexico's heritage. He says he and his 12-year-old son were brainstorming on how to make this year's event even better than last and put Belen back on the map. That's when the boy came up with the idea of breaking the longest tamale world record. A university in Cancun holds it right now. It's 66 feet 4 inches long, but Trujillo wants to nearly double that, making it a whopping 120 feet of masa, chili, and tradition.
We wanted to make sure that when they ate this tamale, that they know it was done by New Mexicans and we know how to cook and it's gonna taste good. It's just not throwing a bunch of ingredients together to say we beat it. We want it to taste good, so they go back for seconds and dessert.
The thing is, Trujillo isn't a chef. Find out more about how he plans to pull this off and where the money will go coming up in our next half hour.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Thanks so much, Catherine. So Viva kicks off ahead of the Belen County Fair on August 21st, and it lasts through the weekend. We turn now to this happening today as we take a live look over the nation's capital this morning, where the Supreme Court is expected to weigh in on some controversial issues. One of the most anticipated is the decision on federal subsidies provided through Obamacare. The question, which states are eligible for federal tax credits? They'll also look into whether gay couples have the constitutional right to marry and if states are legally required to recognize same-sex marriage licenses that are granted by other states. Take a look at this new video this morning. Captures the moments after a driver caused several crashes after driving the wrong way down a Texas highway. It happened over the weekend in San Antonio. The man, who police say was drunk, crashed into 8 vehicles, at least 8. Several people were taken to the hospital. Police say everybody is expected to be okay, believe it or not. The man could face more charges as the investigation continues. And happening right now, people in Charleston, South Carolina are taking steps toward healing following the deaths of 9 black churchgoers last week. Yesterday morning, thousands gathered outside the Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston to attend Sunday service following the shooting rampage Wednesday night. The theme at yesterday's Mass, unity. It was an emotional service that hit on a range of topics, including Father's Day and seeking justice for the 9 victims. Later that day, crowds by the hundreds marched across Charleston's main bridge in a show of solidarity. Now, authorities are still trying to confirm if a manifesto found on a website was written by the alleged shooter, Dylan Roof. Investigators say the 2,500-word racist rant is similar to what Roof told friends before the murders. The author says he chose Charleston because at one time it had the highest ratio of blacks to whites in the country. And back here at home, an emotional day as dozens gathered in Albuquerque yesterday to show their support for what was going on in Charleston, the victims there of the Charleston church massacre, speaking out against racism and oppression. A prayer vigil was held at the African American Performing Arts Center at Expo, New Mexico. Speakers led the crowd in prayer and song, expressing their turmoil over this violent act and vowing to work toward ending the oppression of minorities. Many expressed pride over the diversity of the crowd and say these issues are not just the black community's concern.
We stand in solidarity with the people in South Carolina, and it was a beautiful thing to just see, the multicultural community here.
So donations for the church shooting victims were also collected here in Albuquerque. Organizers say they will continue to pray for those victims and the suspect as well. Happening right now, anger over the Confederate flag that remains flying at full staff in the state capitol there in Charleston. A flag that is a searing reminder of slavery that's sending mixed messages to a whole lot of people. That's what some are saying. Now some heavy hitters are weighing in, asking the state to do the right thing, like former Florida Governor Jeb Bush and Senator Marco Rubio, both presidential candidates. Yesterday, protesters gathered demanding the flag be taken down. And up for the to-the-minute coverage on this, including past stories and videos related to the Charleston shooting massacre, log on to our website or go to our KRQE News app. Some Santa Fe public school teachers are in for a bonus thanks to a new pilot program. The Santa Fe New Mexican reports lawmakers approved Santa Fe public schools getting the $5 million in payments as part of a merit-based system. Some teachers had opposed the program, arguing it placed too much focus on state standardized tests when evaluating a teacher. Nearly 900 teachers, administrators, and other staff opted into the incentive program, while only 27 declined. And today is the last day for Navajo people to vote on a language requirement for the tribe president and vice president. Currently, anyone running for either office must speak the Navajo language. The referendum comes after a presidential hopeful was disqualified when he could not prove he spoke the language last year. Today also marks the beginning of early voting on the Navajo Nation. Putting Belen back on the map. A New Mexico man wants to break the world record for the longest tamale. It's a way to bring attention to what he calls a struggling town and raise money for a great cause. But this man is no chef. In fact, he doesn't even work with food at all. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is in the Newspex with details on this. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, believe it or not, this Belen native lays concrete for a living. Patios, driveways, you name it. So how is this cement expert going to make the longest tamale?
It's going to be a lot of steam and a lot of masa and red chili and green chili and a lot of heritage and tradition.
Well, that's Wayne Trujillo. He's the guy who's heading up the push for the longest tamale. 120 feet to be exact, nearly twice the size of the current record. Trujillo couldn't tell us too much about their top secret plan, but he did say it would use a lot of these gutters. In fact, Trujillo and his team are getting help from one of the largest seamless gutter companies around, ABC Seamless. He's been working with Los Chavez Cafe in Belen to come up with a plan. 50 feet of green, 50 feet of red, and the rest dessert. Trujillo is heading up the second Viva Festival in Belen. This year, proceeds go towards El Ranchito de los Niños, an alternative to foster care that aims to keep siblings together. But he's also doing it for his hometown, a place he says has dwindled over time.
When I was a kid, Belen was packed. People wanted to come there. And the only way we're going to get Belen back on track is with events like this to get new ideas and new interests.
Now, the rules are this tamale has to not only be in one piece, but people have to eat it. That means it will have to meet code standards. Back to you.
Sounds like a pretty big challenge. Thanks so much, Catherine. The current record is held by University in Cancun, 66 feet rather, and 4 inches. For more information on the Viva, just head to our KRQE News app. Happening today as we take a live look over our nation's capital, the man accused of landing a gyrocopter on the Capitol lawn is expected to be back in court today. Douglas Hughes is expected to have a status hearing. He faces 2 felony counts, 4 misdemeanor counts for his stunt. If convicted, he could face 9.5 years in prison. Hughes was carrying letters for Congress about influence of big money in politics when he landed there last April. But what he did has also prompted more questions about security gaps in Washington. New this morning, hundreds of passengers have finally reached Chicago 30 hours after their scheduled arrival, after an unruly passenger forced the plane to make an unexpected stop. The United Airlines flight from Rome was diverted to Ireland over the weekend. According to witnesses, the passenger was upset about missing his connecting flight. He then began yelling at crew members. That passenger is expected to be charged with endangering the safety of a plane. 2 men are facing charges for pulling this bizarre stunt, all for hits on YouTube. Take a look at your screen. The social media site has already removed the video showing a man running through a Walmart in Kentucky while wearing a Halloween mask, shoes, socks, and that's about it. The video generated some laughs, but deputies were not in on this joke. In the video, the streaker eventually hops into a getaway car. He does take off. Warrants are now out for the man and the guy behind the camera filming this all.